Have you ever finished a conversation and just felt completely drained? Or maybe you've walked away from a debate thinking, wow, that went absolutely nowhere. Well, what if there was a 2,500-year-old guide that laid out a precise roadmap for navigating life and pretty much every interaction in it without creating a mess of conflict? That's exactly what we're going to dive into today.
So in this explainer, we are unpacking a really remarkable teaching. It's called the Araṇavibhaṅgasutta. Now, Arana basically means undisturbed, or without conflict. And this ancient text, it isn't just some dusty philosophy. It's a super practical, step-by-step manual for living in a way that brings peace to you and, just as importantly, to everyone around you.
All right, so where does a journey to a conflict-free life even begin? Well, it starts by recognizing two major roadblocks, two extreme ways of living that, let's be honest, almost all of us fall into at some point or another.
On one hand, you've got sensual indulgence, or kama sukha. This is that endless chase for pleasure through our senses. More food, more entertainment, more stuff. The text calls this path base and unfulfilling. Then, on the complete opposite side, you have self-mortification, or atta kilamata. This is the belief that really harsh self-denial and punishment will somehow lead to purity. The text is just as blunt about this one, calling it painful and totally pointless. Both are dead ends.
And this is what leads us to the solution, the middle path, or Majjhima Patipada. Now, this isn't some weak compromise. It's a higher, way more intelligent way of living that just steers clear of both extremes. It recognizes that neither indulgence nor intense denial can ever lead to stable well-being. This balanced approach is the absolute bedrock for everything else we're about to explore.
Okay, so how does this big idea actually play out in our day-to-day lives? Well, this is where the teaching gets incredibly practical, starting with something we do all the time, talking to each other. The Sutta offers a pretty radical and super useful approach to giving feedback or just stating a truth.
I mean, really think about it. This is one of the single biggest challenges in our relationships, at work, online, you name it. How do you bring up a real issue without it turning into a personal attack that just makes the other person shut down or get defensive?
And this probably sounds incredibly familiar, right? This is the unskillful way of blaming, what the text calls apasadana. We see an action we don't like, we lump an entire group of people together with it, and then we just condemn the whole lot of them. All this does is create division and resentment. It goes nowhere good.
Now, contrast that with this skillful approach. Here, you're not attacking anyone, not a single person. You're simply, and truthfully, stating that a specific action or a particular behavior leads to a negative outcome, like suffering or conflict. So the key takeaway here is you're not judging the person, you're analyzing the consequences of the action. This is the real secret to teaching the truth without making enemies.
And this ties directly into why we do anything at all. Our actions, our words, they're all driven by this deep desire for happiness. But the Sutta asks us to get really, really clear about what kind of happiness we're actually chasing.
So on the left, we see kama sukha again, that fleeting, kind of agitated pleasure we get from sensory hits. It's exciting, sure, but it depends on things outside of us, and it never, ever lasts. But on the right, we have nekkhamma sukha. This is a deeper, much more stable happiness that comes from inner peace, from a sense of calm, from letting go. This is the kind of happiness the teaching says is actually worth cultivating because it's reliable and leads to genuine, lasting well-being.
Okay, let's get even more hands-on. The Sutta gives us 3 wonderfully simple rules that can immediately start to transform our daily conversations from potential minefields into real opportunities for connection.
First up, speak without rushing. You know how it feels when we speak really fast and anxiously? Our body gets tense, our mind gets all jumbled, and our voice sounds strained. And even worse, the person we're talking to can't even fully process what we're saying. Speaking slowly, speaking calmly, it keeps you clear and it makes sure your message actually has a chance to land.
Number 2, don't speak about others in private. And listen, this is way more than just a simple don't gossip rule. The standard here is incredibly high. You should only speak about someone when they're not there if what you're saying is 100% true, it's factual, it's beneficial to the listener, and it's the right time to say it. If it fails even one of those tests, you just stay silent.
And third, here's a piece of advice that is just shockingly modern. Don't get all attached to regional dialects or special jargon. I mean, think about how many arguments today are just about semantics, about using the right word. The whole point of language is to communicate an idea clearly. The moment you get bogged down insisting that my word is the only correct word, you've completely lost the plot. The goal is mutual understanding, not winning some vocabulary debate.
So the teaching then brings all of these different ideas together under one powerful final framework. It says that every path, every single action, and every type of speech can be sorted into one of two buckets. Sarana, which means with conflict, or Arana, which means without conflict.
And that path of Arana, the path without conflict, it's built from all the pieces we've just talked about, right? It's that middle path that avoids extremes. It's speaking truthfully about actions instead of blaming people. It's chasing a stable internal happiness, and it's communicating with others calmly and clearly.
The whole text wraps up with this really empowering resolution, which is basically a call to action for all of us. See, it's not about just memorizing a bunch of rules. It's about developing the wisdom to see for ourselves what causes friction and what creates harmony, and then, consciously, intentionally, choosing the path of peace.
And that brings us to the end. This isn't just some ancient philosophy. It's a practical toolkit you can use right now, today. So I'll leave you with a final thought to take with you. Based on everything we've just explored, what is one single conversation you're probably going to have today that you could approach just a little bit differently?